This Blue Thunder from Asuka. This is the 6-foot version. It's a little short, but it'll get the job done. You know, this is some good stuff right here. And Brian has successfully caught a really nice size one. And look at my hand right here. Look at the size of that thing. It's a pretty nice shrimp. So yeah, let's keep going and let's see if we could catch more. Alright guys, so right now I'm going to introduce our tackle to you guys, and I'm going to explain the basic methods of prawn fishing. So here I have a fish brand. This is the light game for prawn fishing. It's a 10 pound, and we have this basic hooks also by Fish, made for river prawns. Okay, and I'm using the Asuka's Blue Thunder rod. This is the 6-foot version. Okay, so this setup is quite basic right here. This is normally what we use for indoors prawn fishing. So I have a good amount of line right here, set up onto my rod. Okay, and it all goes down to just a single hook with a lead right here. This is basically what we use for the spring rig for indoors prawn fishing, but it also works for any types of fishing. Now it's one of the very basic rigs that we use. So what happens is, you know, you have a good amount of line right here depending on the place that you're fishing in, and with my setup I have a lead right here. Some people might prefer putting on a screw or nut to get the weight, but right now we're using a very small sinker just to balance out the entire rig right here. So our setup is very simple. As you guys could see, the rod is leaning downwards, okay, but it's not falling apart because of the lead, and we have this little stationary clip right here. Okay, it's a really nice clip for us to balance our rod with. You know, it's basically like our rod stand. So as you guys could see, the rod is leaning into a position, okay, and what happens is when the prawn bites onto your bait and starts pulling, or any signs of indication, your entire rod will start to bounce. Okay, this method right here is normally used for indoors, because when you're fishing in indoors, you're fishing in a fixed environment, you know, with the same depth everywhere. Okay, but it's the basic method. You could use it anywhere you want, and it's very sensitive. You know, that's what's great about this entire setup right here, is when you get a bite, your entire rod will start to, you know, like swing around like this. You know, it's like a little weight. So yeah, this is the basic setup that we're using right here. Okay, and I'll show you guys our float setup, which is what we normally use specifically for Thailand. Okay, so this is the float method, or the bobber setup, specifically made for Thailand prawn fishing. So the reason for why this is specifically made for Thailand prawn fishing is because Thailand prawns are completely different with the normal prawns that we fish indoors, which is what we call the Udang Harimau, tiger prawn. So right here I'm using all the same tackle, but in a different setup. You know, the setup is completely different right here. So I have a rod, okay, and I fix my line onto the tip, connecting it to my bobber right here. Okay, I'm using a fairly small bobber because I'm not using really heavy tackle on the downside, or my leader is not heavy, so no, this is more than enough. Okay, so the setups varies from different angles, but this is the basic one that we use. So I have my float right here fixed onto a bobber sit, okay, and it goes down to a small little split shot. Okay, a really tiny split shot just to balance things out. And it goes down to 2 of my hooks right here. Okay, so the reason for why we're using 2 hooks for this very specific rig is because this rig is a bobber rig. And so what happens is, for example, if let's say my rig is on the bottom, okay, it's either hanging down from the lead on the bottom to my hook. So what happens is when you have 2 hooks hanging around like that, okay, so this method, as I say, is specifically made for Thailand prawn fishing, and the reason for why is because Thailand prawns, they are completely different from what we call the Udang Harimau, which is a tiger prawn. These Thailand prawns, they have 2 huge grippers. Okay, not all of them, but their feeding method is the same. What happens is they either grab onto your 2 hooks and pull it down to their mouths to feed, or they just went up to your bait and start feeding up there. Okay, so with the 2 hooks, it really ups your chances, because with the 2 huge grippers blocking the hook set for your entire setup, with 2 hooks, it ups your chances. For example, if my float is sitting on the surface, it's completely balanced. Now, let me show you guys right here. Using this rig, we have to measure up the depth. As you guys could see, my bobber is completely standing still right there. You know, it's really balanced, and balance is the key to perfecting this setup. Okay, so what happens is, as you guys could see right now, I have my little split shot down on the bottom, and I have my 2 rig hanging out from the bottom. So when the prawns come and bite it, or they grab onto this, my float is on the surface, quite still, standing up like this. It will start to go down. Okay, and when it goes down, it shows me that the prawn is biting. You know, this is a really good indicator. And thus, after that, we have to see what this float is indicating. If the float is running around, it's just straight up, you know, like moving around the surface, it means that that prawn might have already got your bait or your hook inside its mouth, and it's just running around. Or if the float just sits down to the below the surface, it means that the prawn with the 2 huge grippers just grab your bait and pull it down, and that's why it's just staying still right below the surface right here. Okay, and this is why this rig is specifically made for Thailand prawn. You know, with their specific feeding methods and with their behavior while they're grabbing onto your bait. So this setup is you know, it's quite balanced, and it's quite effective. Okay, and let me show you guys a little bit of the bait. So as I already said just now, as you guys can see, our worms are staying on the hook pretty nicely. You know, it's firm, it's not going to come out simply. You know, and the reason why is because the method we use makes the worm shrink and stays firm onto your hook. Okay, and this is one of the keys to perfecting your entire setup. You know, the bait is all included with the rig and everything. Okay, so you know, with these 2 methods, we managed to catch a little bit of shrimp, prawns, and we're still continuing our fishing, and hopefully this is going to end well. We already got a good amount, and right now it's just a battle between me and Brian. So I'll keep you guys updated, and keep watching.